Welcome, welcome to you at home and welcome to our studio audience. This is the Evidence series and in this programme we're looking at hope. I'm one of your hosts, Gillian Joseph, and we'll have an interesting programme plus brilliant music as always from Ken and his band. Ken. Thank you, Ken.
Thank you, Ken.
Nice and mellow tonight. And this is Dwight Nelson, Hope. We're talking about hope. It's a useful tool, isn't it? I always think of nurturing hope, and I think of your countryman, Reverend Jesse Jackson, with his great phrase, keep hope alive.
Happened to meet Jesse Jackson this summer, as a matter of fact, another story. But when he talks about keeping hope alive, it's not just a local or national need. I've been on the 7 continents, and I'm convinced every culture, every nation, all humanity, we're desperate for that hope. We've got to find a way to hang on to it, and that's our theme tonight. How can we embrace it into our personal and corporate bosom, as it were?
So are we eternal optimists, or is it that we simply can't cope with reality and that hope is our way of not coping with the situation that we're in?
What's the point in hoping for something better when time after time I'm just disappointed? Is hope a reason to keep going? Something to cling to? If I didn't have hope in my life, would I be better off? It's been said the heart would break if it wasn't for hope. But sometimes having hope breaks my heart anyway. Is having hope like wanting a miracle? Or is it a crutch to lean on during the hard times? Where there is life, there is hope. Is that true?
Trevor Johnson, nice to have you here at the front table.
Pleasure.
When you were a kid growing up, what did you hope for?
Well, as kids, simple things like just meeting up with the family, the cousins, going on holidays, going out on trips to the seaside. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Those are the things we loved.
Now you are an adult. Have your hopes changed much?
Yeah, I suppose they've become more complicated, you know, wanting to realize certain dreams, cars, a big house, you know, some of those things.
So you're starting to realize some of those hopes?
I wish, unfortunately, some of them haven't actually come through, but we're kind of working towards that, moving towards that direction.
And then when you reach those, you get that big house, your career is just spot on, as they say. Then what?
Being debt-free.
Okay.
One of the things that I'd really love to have.
Yeah.
Being able to move to a bigger house, perhaps.
A bigger house,
Even a bigger house, even a bigger car.
Bigger car.
Yeah.
Eventually you're going to retire.
Yep.
You have hopes beyond retirement?
Yeah, to have lots of grandchildren, you know.
Lots of Have you told your wife that?
I haven't, no. I'm going to pass it out to my daughter, actually, so.
That's right. Yeah, tell your daughter that. Forget your wife, it's your daughter that will make the difference. Yeah, so you live with these hopes, Trevor.
Yep, indeedy. I think it's important.
Yeah. Thank you for reminding us that hope is woven into the very fabric of our lives. Trevor Johnson, appreciate you. Jillian, how about some music with hope in it?
Now, this next song is going to be performed by Paul Lee, and it's called Sanctuary. Can you tell us what the song's about, Paul?
This is a song of hope. It's about God's love for you and knowing that wherever you are, whatever is happening to you, God is with you.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, Paul Lee.
I've left the innocence of being long ago, tempted by my heart to go in on my own, beyond the garden, somehow through the desert of my wanderings alone. You have never let me go. I turn have felt the separations deep within my bones, brought me to my knees, crying out for hope. Beyond the garden, somehow through my tears you heard the words I could not speak. You were there to rescue me. I turn to you, and still you cover me. I fall so far, you find me in the deep. I lose my way, you're reaching out to me anywhere I am. I turn from you, and still you cover me. I fall so far, you're reaching out to me. I lose my way, you find me in the deep. Anywhere I am, anywhere I am, you sanctuary me. Sanctuary me.
So hope is about yearning for something that we don't yet have. It's a useful tool, one that's underestimated because it can get us through very difficult situations. I have with me now Mary Taylor, who's a poet. You've been writing for 10 years and have used hope as your inspiration for some of your poems. Tell us about the one you're going to perform for us a little later on.
Well, I wrote it when I was staying on Iona, which is an island off the west coast of Scotland. It's called a thin place by the Celts. That is one that is close to the other world or the spiritual realm. Prior to going there, I'd worked in hospitals, which I found to be sad, dark places, and myself, I became depressed. By the time I got to Iona, I had left hospitals and the depression was lifting. And there I felt a tremendous sense of hope, that light can come from dark and life can come from death, and that love will return like the spring.
Now, you use geese in the poem. What do they symbolise?
Well, the wild goose is the Celtic Christian symbol for the Holy Spirit, or if you prefer, for love. It's a very strong bird that migrates thousands of miles every year, but returns each winter to Iona and brings life to a bleak landscape.
Okay, Mary, we'd love you to share the poem with us now.
Thank you. Pasture of the geese. I have crawled on beaches, hands sticky with blood and tar, clambered rocks where the guillemot draggles oil-slicked wings. No more angel than a shag, a junkie tossed to the gulls. I gobbled up my nightmare and retched on the dark. Now I treasure trail barefoot, squat on dunes soft as breasts, where water flags surge and lambs shudder the ewe. Here, in this thin place, I choose to dream. Milk blue turns light on water, like pebbles skim my longing for the wild goose whose wings alone can shelter.
Mary, thank you very much for that. That was beautiful. Well, I know personally that without hope, I probably wouldn't get up in the morning. I can genuinely say that each new day, I hope will be better than the last. But what does hope mean? Is it resilience? Is it courage? Is it wishing our life away? What does hope mean in your life?
Well, you hope for things in life.
That we stay healthy and be happy.
Nadu ih tjera dalje čovjeka, ne znam, trebamo se nadati. Da se ne nadamo ne bi trebali niti živjeti. Toga što nada nas tjera dalje, ona je nešto što pokreće cijeli ovaj svijet. To je nešto, ne znam, je nešto što se nalazi u svakom čovjeku, čak i u političarima. Znači, čak i u tim abnormalnim ljudima što ih tjera dalje da se bore, rade, da žive. Ne znam.
Without hope, you can't go any further, his words. Well, sometimes hope is that shining light at the end of the tunnel. Sometimes we can't see that light at the end of the tunnel. And when things are really bad, we can't even see the tunnel at all. Well, that's exactly where Eileen Phillips was. She was in a really dark place. But she turned that around and she was able to provide hope for others. This is her story.
Well, my journey, it goes back quite some way. I remember before I was actually sectioned that lots of things had been going on in my life. Gradually my feelings, I just started to become very unhappy, very withdrawn, not happy to go to work. And you know, I quickly sensed something was going wrong and I suspected I may have been depressed. I spoke to my tutor at uni about it, even drawing on the analogy that, you know, my head just feels so swollen, I just feel so pressurized inside, and the only thing that I felt could give me relief was if someone put a pin in it and burst it and let all this, you know, this energy that was building up inside out. It was such a difficult situation, you know, it was like I could not be understood. I'd speak to family and I'd speak to friends and, you know, they'd want to jolly you along and said it would be okay. But inside of me there was such an empty void. There was nothing would make me feel better about myself. Nothing would make me feel better about the future. I began to feel like, what's the point of living? I've got nothing to offer. I've got two beautiful children, beautiful boys, and they deserve, you know, a mum who can really love them and give back to them instead of them giving back to me, because it's almost as if the relationship had changed. They were starting to parent me. Everything just seemed hopeless. Everything seemed useless. Nothing seemed worthwhile. You know, the only thing that, you know, seemed to be worthwhile for me at the time was like not to be there, not to be existing, and to be away from everyone, so they didn't have to be concerned with me, they didn't have to be around me. I was miserable, and just for me to be out of my inner pain and turmoil, which no one seemed to understand or could reach. I'd been sectioned. I spent 4 horrific months on the wards. And, you know, you mentioned the word released, and it felt like that because it felt like I was in prison. It really, really did. It didn't feel that I was being cared for. That didn't seem like care to me, you know, the things that were happening there and what I saw and how I was treated. And yet I was released after 4 months of being in there. Still difficult being on the outside. I wasn't sure what was worse, being inside the hospital or outside the hospital. But I guess gradually, little by little, working on myself, the love and support of my family, my children, and at that time I'd started counselling, and that was an enormous relief for me. At the time I didn't know it was going to be that way because it was a painful situation, and I remember leaving my sessions on Friday in tears, agony, and saying I'm never going back, I'm hurting more than when I went in. But I guess I had to go through that hurt to come through to the healing. And then a little after I applied for a job, a local hospital, sessional work, and surprised myself that I got the job. I thought, oh my gosh, someone wants to employ me. Are they sure? I wasn't very confident, and even though I went and I took on the job, I was still within myself, I was still withdrawn, I still wasn't speaking very much. But then my confidence started to grow, and I started to shine a bit more, and then they offered me paid work, not voluntary work, and I thought, are they sure they know what they're doing? Am I ready for this? But I took it. It was 10 hours a week. And I became more interactive. I started to gain my confidence back, became, you know, more assertive. But one thing bothered me, and that was the fact of seeing so many patients on the ward, and I guess the borough that I live in locally, you know, a lot of African Caribbean people on the ward, and it really bothered me when they were discharged and sent home, that you could see them being sent home and they weren't ready to be home. They still walked around with slouched shoulders, no hope almost, like how I'd felt back then, and I thought there's got to be another way. And I came up with a program where people who's been through the mental health system or are having emotional challenges can come together and meet with people who themselves have been there, and I think it gives people confidence and hope to say, well, if Eileen's been there and the other worker's been there and this is what they're doing now, then we can try ourselves. Hope for me is so fundamentally important. When I was on the wards, you know, sometimes you think you've lost hope, but you really haven't. There's something that keeps you going. There's something, you know, I thought I'd lost hope, but then I look at my children and I said, okay, because of them, I'm going to try another day. You know, anything that helps you to press on, one moment at a time, you know, one day at a time, because sometimes a day is too much for you. A moment, you know, just one minutest moment at a time. We need that, because eventually, you know, things will change. Things will change. No one stays the same forever. And I think hope is important. We need that, because it's that purpose that keeps us going on when we feel we have nothing else to give.
Such a hopeless beginning, but what a beautiful, hope-filled story that comes out of it.
I like the way she said we've got to keep pressing on.
Yeah, and here she turns her despair into a service for society to help others. We've got to keep thinking about this hope. We're delighted to have with us in this session Lydia Gadina, psychology lecturer and social worker, and Val Bernard, sociologist. Hope, 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 hope. That's all we've been talking about. What is hope? Lydia?
Well, if you want to define it, I will opt for a very simple definition. It is expectation and desire combined. An innate ability, really, to look forward to the future.
Something outside of us yet ahead that I'm clinging to.
Yes.
Uniquely human?
Well, maybe so, we would like to think. Seligman suggested, he introduced this idea of learned helplessness.
This is some authority.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, all right.
And he pointed out that rats and dogs, when they have been exposed to electrical shock, they could cope with electrical shock if they had some control over it, and they would press a lever and avoid electrical shock.
Okay.
Once they lost that control over their life, they demonstrated something like human depression, the sense of helplessness.
They lost their ability to control their circumstances.
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah.
But we're not rats, obviously. But Val, how do sociologists explain hope? What do they say about hope?
It's a new area, and what they're discovering is that there's a negative link between the material society. So materialistic societies tend to have less hope. And societies where there is more dependence on nature, where it's more volatile, there is greater hope.
Isn't that something?
Yeah, it's quite interesting.
I mean, there have been some situations historically where they've seemed hopeless. I'm talking sort of about slavery, the Holocaust, but yet hope has come out of those situations. How do we explain that?
It is possible to have hope in hopeless situations. And as you say, there's so many examples of that. And there is something taking a psychological perspective, painfully, there is something in what psychology, is showing us about the human spirit, definitely. And, there are so many cases of people maintaining their dreams because they have the ability to dream, because we have an imagination and we can dream and we can see things that are not part of our reality and make those dreams, make those visions part of our reality, then that enables us to feed our hope and to come through very difficult circumstances.
But how about kids? So we're talking about children. Such a huge challenge for so little hearts. How do kids deal with hope, Lydia?
I have been for 5 years part of academia, and I was teaching about behavior.
Okay.
I was teaching about the impact of diverse situation on people's life. And I really thought that I sussed it out. I went back to practice a few months ago, and it really what shocked me, had a major impact on me, was the fact that I had opportunity to see young people who simply have lost hope because what happened in the childhood, they did not receive support, love when they were young. And nowadays, they present as life has no meaning, no worth. And they engage in self-harming behavior, totally hopeless or helpless outlook on life.
Is there any way we can, not just coach kids, but even ourselves, how can we build on the hope that's in us? How can we strengthen that sense of the future?
We live in the era of cognitive behavior therapy. Anybody who wants to make money, that's the place to be. Why?
Right.
Because it offers the idea that actually we can retrain what we think and how we think.
So
and
how do I need to retrain myself?
Well, it's a big topic, but maybe something that I would like to just point out that there is a lot of evidence that suggests that religion actually offers sense of well-being to people.
So people who believe in a supernatural being actually do better in health? Empirical evidence to suggest so?
Sufficient evidence, especially in relation to general well-being, sense of worth.
And that's coupled with the role of the media. I think that the media has a lot of power in society, and they're actually responsible, some people would argue, for constructing communities of despair through what people are watching and how that influences.
So you're suggesting maybe not be so immersed in the media.
Taking more control of our environment, definitely.
Val, Lydia, thank you very much for pointing us in the direction of hope we needed. Ladies and gentlemen, Val and Lydia.
Now, this next musical item is called My Father's Heart. It's going to be performed by Kati Mäki from Sweden. Can you tell us what the song's about?
The song's about a lot of things. It's about worshipping God, the whole creation, worshipping God. It's about us surrendering ourselves to God. And there's a line in the song that says, "Love is all we need to heal us." And that, to me, is a message of hope, that there's hope in God's love.
Kati, thanks for sharing that with us. My Father's Heart, ladies and gentlemen.
Let everything that breathes praise you. The earth, the sky, the sea, praise you. Just as nature shows to us your blessing, soon I find my heart confessing. My love is not my own, it all belongs to you. And after all you've done, the least that I can do is live my life in every part, only to please my Father's heart. Love is all we need to heal us, flowing from the heavens, Jesus. And with one voice we'll sing, done the least that I can do is live my life in every part, only to please my Father's heart, only to please my Father's heart.
Thank you, Patty Mackey. Beautiful. My Father's Heart. The famous 18th century German philosopher and writer, Immanuel Kant, took all of the essence of his thinking and reduced it to 3 questions. He said, this is the core of what I believe. I'll put the 3 questions on the screen for you. Question number 1, what can I know? What can I know? Question number 2, what ought I do? And question number 3, what may I hope? Tonight we want to focus in on that 3rd question, what may I hope? Because, ladies and gentlemen, no matter how you stack it or cut it, the essence of humanity is that we are all prisoners of hope. We long for hope. As I said at the intro, I've been on the 7 continents. I've seen a whole lot of human culture. Every culture that I know of desperately hungers for hope. I want to go to the playwright Eugene O'Neill. He wrote a play 60 years ago entitled The Iceman Cometh. It's about a dozen or so drunks living around the flop house of a bar somewhere in the shadows of New York City. The drama actually is centered about the planned birthday celebration for the owner, whose name happens to be Harry Hope. The drunks are deciding that they are going to throw the party for Harry Hope. And so the invitations have gone out, and prostitutes are on that invitation list, and some ex-policemen, and some ex-anarchists, and an ex-British officer, and an ex-commander from the Boer War. They're all gathered together. Obviously, the dregs, the scum of society. But they've gathered for this mighty celebration. One of the characters in this play is an hardware salesman, and his name is Hickey. And he tries to help these poor saps cope with life. He's trying to train them, teach them that you don't have to live with hope. In fact, living with hope will actually kill you. Why would you want to live with hope? It's going to destroy your anticipation of life because hopes don't come true, and then you live with bitter disappointment. It simply is not worth hoping in anything. And then as the play is building and building and building, right near the end, Hickey screams at them all these drunks and prostitutes. Here are his words: by rights, you should be contented now without a single damned hope or lying dream to torment you. Whoa, ladies and gentlemen, I need to quickly tell you, pardon his Queen's English, by the way, but I need to quickly tell you, I don't believe Eugene O'Neill or Hickey. I don't believe either one of them. I believe we do need hope. I believe we can't survive without hope. Hope in what? Or how did Kant put it? What? How did he put it? You remember? Let's put it on the screen again. What may I hope? What kind of hope? We're exploring that in our session today. I realize that there are some people who suggest that the whole purpose of hope is to just go through the act of hoping, and that in itself will be a great psychological, exercise, and it will lift your spirits. I believe there's more to it. What may I hope? Immanuel Kant. You know, I think it's the right question to ask, given the world we're living in today. Do you know that in every 24-hour period, 24,000, count them, 24,000 human beings die, most of them under the age of 5. They die of starvation or some sort of hunger-related disease. 24,000 every hour. Have you ever been to an AIDS clinic? Huh? I mean, what may I hope? You want to talk about a world in which terror now and the absolute political and military uncertainty of so many countries? In our country, we live with color codes. You see, are we under orange? Are we under yellow? Are we under red? What may I hope? WMD. We live with those 3 initials. Do you know what they mean over here? Weapons of mass destruction. What may I hope in this world you and I occupy today? What about the ozone layer? You want to talk about that depleting? Increasing the deadly radiation that the entire human race is being exposed to? Shall we talk instead about global warming, the melting of the ice caps, and the spreading of human diseases heretofore unknown? What may I hope? Let's talk about monetary crisis. You say, Dwight, there's not really a monetary crisis. Let me remind you, ladies and gentlemen, all it takes is 1 or 2 nations to default on their loans, and the entire global community is thrown into fiduciary and financial crisis. What may I hope? 1 billion people on the planet tonight are living on less than $1. Well, you and I are saying, what about that bigger car? What about that bigger house? I want that retirement, that pension. And all they're saying is, can I just get some more food for tomorrow? What may I hope? That's our question that we've been exploring all through this session together. Shall we hope in reincarnation? Cryogenics? Some kind of political savior to come along and deliver us all? What may I hope? I want to put on the screen some rather morbid and pessimistic words. This is from a Spanish philosopher. Let's put his words up. This is Francisco José Moreno. He wrote this line: "We can neither rid ourselves of the certainty of death nor achieve an understanding of life." You want to talk about hopelessness. Even the very life that we have, he says that we're destined for death. And this life, what is it? It cannot even yield its own meaning? What may I hope? Shall we settle for what the prevailing worldview has settled for? What may I hope? Maybe it doesn't matter to hope at all. I'll be quite bother hoping. Who cares? Nobody knows for sure. Hold that question, because I want to step over here. On this stage before you and me, beautiful, beautiful. Take a very careful look at it, ladies and gentlemen, because you will instantly recognize it. You will say, I have seen this, I have seen this, I have seen replications of this all over the world. Ladies and gentlemen, may I present to you, please, Leonardo da Vinci's beautiful and enchanting Mona Lisa. There she is in all her glory. Now, I need to tell you, this is not the original. Some of you are probably wondering, can I get up? Can I touch this, please, when it's all over? No, it's not the original, for which you will be, and I will be grateful in just a moment. But this is a replication of Da Vinci's masterpiece. I'm not a great art critic, but I do know a little bit about art, and I happen to I think that this is probably one of the greatest single pieces of art in the world, is it not? Da Vinci, Mona Lisa, that haunting smile. Obviously, whether I know anything about art or not, I can look at this for a little bit and realize, whoa, somebody has put some incredible, loving attention to detail. Look at the lines. Look at the shapes. Somebody has spent hours and hours on this beautiful, beautiful creation. I don't know that somebody, but just looking at the product makes me think, there must be a master artist for this. Wouldn't you agree? Oh, I think so. Now, because I happen to be quite an artist myself, I came prepared tonight to do a little bit of my own artwork. What are you laughing at? You know, I love this painting, lovely, lovely. But it just seems, she seems naked to me. I think most people that really have anything going for them are going to wear a mustache. And so, you know, I think, you know, there's a little more attraction now to the Mona Lisa. And because she's postmodern and probably a young adult, you know, she just needs a little bit of this because this is certainly stylistic. You know, and I don't know about Da Vinci, but what's the problem with these eyebrows I can't even see? He's awfully. You know, she needs to be a part of the movement. She needs to be a part of the movement and wear the symbols of the age. And, you know, I don't know. She just was just a little something to give her a bit of color and personality, wouldn't you say? Now, ladies and gentlemen, you're sitting there saying, oh, this is almost sacrilegious. Why would you think to do that? Well, Da Vinci's not here, so I get by with it. But ladies and gentlemen, look, there it is. Now, there are 2 points I want to make from this. I hope they're simple enough. If this painting, let's say you went to the Tate Gallery in London, all right? So you go to the Tate Gallery, and you walk in, and not being a connoisseur of great art yourself, just like me, you see at this Nelsonized version of Da Vinci is hanging in the Tate, let's say, and you see it and you walk in. You say, ah, man, what a piece of mess. Who would ever hang artwork like this? See, you don't understand. You don't realize that it's a masterpiece. You see what I've done to it, all the defacing that I've done, and you're saying, bring me the next picture, please. But ladies and gentlemen, I want to make a point to you, point number one, and that is, even though you don't recognize that, in fact, this is a masterpiece that has been defaced, and you think it's just a perverted bit of art, the fact that you think it's a perverted bit of art does not change the reality that it is still a masterpiece. Just because you don't see the masterpiece there, it's still a work of art. You can't change that fact, can you? You can't change it. Okay, so that's point number one. No matter what you say to it. In fact, let me put these words on the screen just so that you get them straight up. Does the fact that I have ruined this painting take away from the original care and love and energy that Leonardo put into it from the start? Does it take it away? No, it does not. No. No matter what I've done to it. And secondly, here's the other point I want to make. Let's say you are a connoisseur of great art, and you walk into the Tate, and you see this, and you say, whoa, something's wrong with this painting because it's been defaced. And the longer you stare at the painting, I don't know, maybe you heard the story about how the original Mona Lisa and Leonardo da Vinci, maybe you're aware of the story, and so you look at the painting and you say, I know the story. I know that, in fact, there is a masterpiece, and the more you study it, you can see even beneath this, look at those lines, look at that shading. Even though I've defaced it, you still sense that there is a masterpiece lying beneath that awful ruining of what was once the masterpiece. 2 points. It's still a masterpiece whether you say it is or not. Second point, somebody who really looks closely enough will say, I see it right there. Ladies and gentlemen, what does that have to do with hope? I'll tell you what it has to do with hope. Maybe the canvas you and I are living upon has been painted by a master artist. And maybe somebody got a hold of it and defaced it. And that if you look closely enough, the master's work might yet be seen. A friend of mine is a philosopher and writer. His name is Cliff Goldstein. He wrote a book recently called God, Gardel, and Grace. I'm going to put his words on the screen. Take a look. Look closely. Now, these are his words. See? Look closely. A rotted peach, now think with me, a rotted peach demands first the peach. Isn't that true? You have to have a peach before it can rot. And there can be no sexual disease without first sex. And behind the abused child exists only the child. Like cracks in the pieta or the blotch on a banana, these adjectives are secondary, unoriginal, after-the-fact intrusions. That's after the fact. And the fact itself, as pure fact, is good. What the writer, what my friend Clifford is saying is, you got to get beneath the surface. Something was there first, before this rut set in. Something was there. Now, he goes on. I want to put his next words up on the screen here. Children, peaches, sex, before any deficiency, antecedent to any defect, reveal the creative touch of such a tender, genteel love. Think of them. Edited of all the unintended adjectives. Imagine the child unmodified. But even now it's there in the subtle curves of the peach, in the deep echoes of sex, and all through the child. It's dripping off the trees even, more apparent than air. And we sense it even if we're afraid to say it for the fear of sounding silly or unscientific. However rudely deflowered, nature still can transcend parched logic and sprinkle us with hints of something more hopeful than cosmic entropy or decay. Can you see my point, ladies and gentlemen? Nature itself, there's something beneath it. Look closely at the masterpiece. Take a look. Could it be that when we see hints of the original, we find maybe reason to hope again? I want to put some pictures of nature on the screen. I love these shots. Take a look at these, will you? Look beneath the surface defacement. You know what I see? Myself, I see the evidence of a loving designer, creator, whose master hand has left his footprints, as it were. Somebody with an astounding amount of care for the original creation. I see a Mona Lisa when I look at nature. I see a Mona Lisa that's been defaced. Somebody scratched it up. And that, my friends, is reason and cause for hope. Because if there is a master artist, and you can spot his fingerprints, then I have reason, you have reason, we have reason indeed to hope. What may I hope? Immanuel Kant asks. I mean, you think about it. All I need, really, to subsist, isn't this true? All I need, I probably need about, 3 vegetables? I could live on 3 vegetables. I could live on maybe three pieces of fruit, 3 different kinds of fruit, 3 kinds of grain. What kind of a palette and canvas is this that instead gives me hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of varieties of all of the above? I mean, if it's just vitamins and nutrients and a little bit of extra B12 that I need, just put it in one pill for me. But instead, it all comes wrapped in the most spectacular array. Do you suppose that this was all for the sake of the bacteria? So that when they eat the peach, they say, "Ooh, I love peaches. Why don't I decay more peaches? Where are peaches?" It doesn't make a hill of beans difference to the bacteria. Somebody else takes pleasure in a vast array of the masterpiece in the canvas. You see, what may I hope? What if it's only a defaced picture that we see today, and there really is a master behind the masterpiece? That's what I'm wondering out loud with you. That is tragic, this defacing, and sometime maybe when you and I are together, we'll talk about how it got defaced. I'm thinking about hope right now, though. Thinking about a world where maybe we have reason. Let me put that on the screen. We have reasons. We have good, logical, intelligent reasons to hope. I know what you're saying. But come on, Dwight, please. You're going to say that nature is our reason to hope? No, I'm not saying that nature is our reason to hope. In fact, I'm aware that some of you are going to say, nature is our problem. That's it. I mean, because of nature, we die. And I'll give you that one. You're right. It is a problem for us. I'm not saying nature is the reason for hope. What I'm suggesting is that nature hints at the reason for hope. Take a look at the masterpiece around you. It's been defaced, but is there something beneath that defacing? Let me put a line or two from that ancient book called the Scriptures. I'll put a line on the screen. Take a look at this. Ponder this. You want something to hope in? Take a look at, run this through your computer. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future. Could they be the words of the master artist? Let me put the words of Jesus of Nazareth on the screen. Are not 2 sparrows sold for a penny? Yet not one of them will fall to the ground apart from the will of your Father. And even the very hairs of your head are all numbered. So don't be afraid. You are worth more than many, many sparrows. Ah, Dwight, please. A few pleasant-sounding ancient lines. You think that's supposed to convince me? No, I'm not suggesting that at all. In fact, what I'm asking you to do is imagine that what you just read is true. Just to pretend, okay? Just pretend that maybe there is a master artist and this palette, this canvas upon which you and I exist has been defaced. Then can you imagine that there might be some hope tucked away in what we just read? Because if there is a master artist, then I suppose if Leonardo da Vinci walked in here and said, you know what, this thing has been messed up, give me that palette back, I predict he could probably return this to pretty much the original, couldn't he? There's a line in that ancient book that I put a lot of hope in. Let me put it on the screen for you. Near the end of the book, God will wipe every tear from their eyes. There will be no more death or mourning or crying or pain, for the old order of things has passed away. Wow, talking about hope. You mean it's not going to be this great cosmic turn off and crush and just finally sucking out all the light in the universe and the last one out, please turn the lights off? You mean there is a master designer and an artist who can return to the canvas and restore it pristine and perfect once again? Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Hope. What may I hope? I tell you what, I receive all of these lines that I read as promises of a God who not only loves His creation. Well, let me put this on the screen for you. He's the God who holds the future of this creation in His hands. In fact, they're promises all the way through that ancient book. Some of the promises are called prophecies. I want to share a prophecy. Just two of them. All right, the book is replete with them. Let me just share a couple of them. These are the words of the same Jesus of Nazareth. Let me put them on the screen, please. Heaven and earth will pass away. Now, I got to remind you, as you leave the words up there, I must remind you, these words were spoken 2,000 years ago. The number is vital. We'll call it back in just a moment. They were spoken, everybody knows, 2,000 years ago. All right? Heaven and earth will pass away, but my words will never pass away. Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to think about that for a moment. The man who spoke these words was living in a little backwater province in the Roman Empire, just a troublesome little place, off the beaten path. And yet he had the audacity to say, what I speak to you now will never pass away. There have been many great luminaries who have wished that their words would last forever and ever. I don't know of any that have had the profound and lasting impact. In fact, my very reading of his words today verifies the veracity of that claim. The words will not pass away. Something, isn't it? That's a prophecy. They haven't passed away. Let me give you one more. The same Jesus of Nazareth speaking. Listen to how he described the future 2,000 years ago. Let's put the words on the screen, please. You will hear of wars and rumors of wars, but see to it that you are not alarmed. Such things must happen, but the end is still to come. Nation will rise against nation and kingdom against kingdom. There will be famines and earthquakes in various places. Now I want you to think again. 2,000 years ago, that's when these words were spoken. And I know what you're thinking. You're saying, oh, Dwight, please. We have had wars and rumors of wars since time immemorial. Don't you tell me that that's some great prophecy. Hold on. Do you want me to trace for you through history How many times brilliant minds have come along and have promised us, the human race, that we are on the cusp, we are on the brink of a brand new utopia that will never be taken away. How many times? In fact, might I put up for you the chaplain to Queen Victoria, because there is a whole cluster of bright bursts of hope at the beginning of the previous century. Let me put him on the screen for you. His name, Charles Kingsley. He is the chaplain, was the chaplain to Queen Victoria. These are his words: the railroad, the Cunard liners, and the electric telegraph are signs that we are, on some points at least, in harmony with the universe. There is a mighty spirit working among us, he wrote, the ordering and creating of God. Wow, we're almost there. Now, the historian Hans Koning, writing about that time, describing that time a century ago, these are his words now: men and women, more than ever before or since, felt at home on earth and in control of their destiny. The natural demons of the past had been banished by reason and electricity, and the human demons of the new century were still hidden, end quote. And it was Winston Churchill, all of our favorite. Winston Churchill, 1895, he's visiting Cuba, where the Spanish are fighting. And he declares to the world, this will be the last war of whites fighting whites. If only he knew that in a matter of 15 to 20 years, the world would be plunged into the bloody first of two in 1 century, global conflagrations. Man has dreamed, oh, man has dreamed of a utopia at last. But 2,000 years ago, there was a man named Jesus of Nazareth who said, nope, it will never happen. And so far, ladies and gentlemen, that one line is still true. Fact of the matter is, could it be that there is a God who ultimately does know the future? And because of that knowledge, I can have hope in the master artist. Hope that because he knows the future, I can journey toward that future with him. Ladies and gentlemen, I will again share with you that I believe, this is my personal confession now, that I happen to believe that the evidence is indeed extremely credible that such a master artist does exist. A designer who not only created the beautiful original, but after it became so tragically defaced and deformed, stepped into the human stream of time to join this human race, and then said, I'm going to restore it all one day. A Leonardo da Vinci who saw this awful, awful mess and said, I can make it like the original once again. What may I hope? I may hope, let me put this on the screen for you, I may hope that this master artist knows the future. I may hope that he knows how the story will end. I may hope that in fact it is a very good ending one day in that future. I understand that I can't stand here before you and say, well, listen, if you just had that kind of hope, all your troubles will disappear. It doesn't work that way. But here's what I do want to tell you. If you can cling to that hope, hold it tight, in spite of the troubles, in spite of the heartache, in spite of the bitterness and the pain that you have to endure, if you can know that there is a master artist with your own life, and give him the chance, he can still recreate the original inside of you. Then you can hope. You don't have to despair. You don't have to quit living. You can say, I hang on. I hang on. There is more to come in the story I'm living. So, you can hope. Even in the midst of life's turmoil here, you can hope. Now, I'm sure all of you have heard of the Christian teaching called the second coming. I don't want to get into that tonight. Maybe we'll have a chance to sometime. But I will tell you this. I believe in the second coming because I believe in the first coming. You see, the first coming is of the master artist coming to this place and saying, let me get in the midst of this mess. And then let me die. I believe in that story of the Christ on the cross. Let me die. And then I will take the penalty that you deserve for all the pain, Dwight, you have inflicted on so many people. I'll take it. I promise to redo your life and rewrite your future. And you can hope now in me, because the master artist has your life in my hands. What may I hope? Oh, my. You can have hope even in the midst of life's pain and heartache, because what the second coming is the master artist coming back to repaint the original. Ladies and gentlemen, some of you are thinking tonight, you know what, Dwight? This is my life. Defaced, messed, I feel worth nothing. I want to say to you, my friend, that if you will cling to that notion that there is a master artist, even for your life, I tell you what, you give your life to Him. Give your future to Him and see if He can't step into your life right now. And with His palette board, begin to repaint your story even today. I tell you what, ladies and gentlemen, you give your future to Him, and then let Him give His future to you. As far as I'm concerned, that's the best thing in the universe to be hoping in.
So, hope. Is there more to this life than we're living? We know we've given you some food for thought, and we'd love you to get in touch. You can visit our website, or you can contact us via email, or you can give us a call. We're at the end of that phone line. We would really love to hear from you, so do get in touch.
We began our session with the question, what may I hope? Answer, that with God, the very best does come last, which gives you every reason to hope indeed. Think about it. Join us again next time for more of The Evidence.
Bye for now.